So welcome to the workshop, How to Stand Out at Job Fairs. And my name is Christy Vanderhoof, and I am a career advisor at the Tri-Valley Career Center. And I'm going to be talking about both in-person and virtual job fairs, since we still have both types these days. So you'll get to learn about both. Just to get a sense, how many of you have attended a job fair before? You can just raise your hand or write in the chat if you have attended one previously. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. One person has, a few people haven't. Okay. So the purpose of a job fair, what is the purpose of a job fair? That's what we'll be discussing today. And then how to prepare for them. And then we'll talk about like what to expect in different types of job fairs. So, so the purpose of a job fair is mostly informational. So kind of like, it's almost like you're having a mini informational interview with the employer. So depending on the job fair and how many people there are, you might not have that much time to talk to the employer. So if it's in person, you're just walking up to their table, introducing yourself, delivering your elevator speech, which we'll talk about briefly, and then sharing your resume with them and learning more about their company as well. So the goal is for you to put a face, have like a more of a human interaction with someone than just applying for a job online. You establish a connection with them, and you establish, you make an impression on them, right? So it's a way to get to know them, and then usually after a job fair, then the recruiter will contact you for a separate interview. So it's a way for you to expand your network, and it's also helpful for employers because they can kind of briefly screen a bunch of candidates at once, and then they can set up interviews with the people who they want to talk to in more depth. So what generally does not happen at a job fair is an actual job interview. So that's something that happens after the job fair. Usually you don't have job interviews or long one-on-one appointments. So you want to be mindful of all the people that are at the job fair and make sure everyone has a chance to talk to the employer if they're waiting to talk to them. So you want to introduce yourself and talk to them, but you also don't want to monopolize the session because there will be other job seekers wanting to talk to the employer as well. And another thing to keep in mind, sometimes people don't go to job fairs because they think like, oh, I don't want to go to that company because they're hiring caregivers and I don't want to be a caregiver. But what if the company has another position that is something that you're interested in and you just don't know it? For example, I had a client in the past she had a lot of experience working in credit unions. And so there was a credit union at our job fair at actually one of our coffee breaks with employers. And she decided to go, even though, on paper, the credit union said they were just hiring tellers and customer service people. But my client decided to go. She talked to the credit unions. She told them about her experience because she'd been in management positions in credit unions before. And the recruiter said, hey, you know what? We actually need to hire someone with your experience. We just haven't posted the job yet. So there you go. She found out about, she tapped into that hidden job market. She found out about the job before it was even posted. And she eventually got the job, after they posted and did interviews. So it's a chance for you to get to know a company that you're interested in, even if the exact jobs that they're posting are not. Oh, hold on a sec. even if the exact jobs they're posting are not what you're looking for. If you're interested in the company, it's still worth talking to them. If you're not interested in the company at all, it's still worth talking to them. Just practice your elevator speech as well. So if you just want to practice networking in a low stakes environment, that's another thing you can do at a job fair. So these are this is an overview of all the things you want to do to prepare for a job fair. So one thing you should do is you should register ahead of time. Usually whoever's hosting the job fair has an Eventbrite link. And so you'll want to go on Eventbrite and register for the job fair in advance, or maybe they're using a Google form or some other way to have you register. So you'll want to do that. You'll definitely want to research the companies in advance. So something you don't want to do is just walk up to a table to an employer and say, what do you do? Because they're expecting you to already kind of have a sense of what they do and have some additional questions that you want to ask them. So you'll want to do some research on the companies. You'll want to have a resume prepared that you're ready to share. Depending on your occupation, and I know all of you, so I recommend all of you prepare a LinkedIn profile so that you'll be able to share that with recruiters. Because what happens often is recruiters will look you up on LinkedIn after the job fair. You can also connect with them on LinkedIn after the job fair and send them a little thank you note, and then you'll be able to keep that connection going after you've met them. We'll talk about clothing, elevator speeches, and then also being ready to answer common interview questions. So first, you'll want to research the companies. So for all of our hiring events, you can find them here at this website, trivalleycareercenter.org/calendar/hiring events. And so you can go down to the hiring event. So you can click on the coffee break, for example. And then you'll find the list of employers that are going to be at the coffee break. And then you can go click on any of these employers' websites, and you can go to find jobs. And then you can put in, something happened. You can put in like your location, and then you can search for the jobs and see what they have available. You can also go to that website for the employer, and you can read about them by going to their homepage and finding out more about what they do. This is a staffing agency, so they work with a lot of different companies. But like, for example, Gallo Wine Company or Gary Vineyard and Winery. You can read more about these companies here and go to like their careers page, go to their homepage, maybe run into problems with their website, and just learn more about them as a whole. So depending on the employer, they might have a really comprehensive website, they might not, but definitely take a look at the different areas where they offer careers, and read about any that interest you, and also look at anything about them as an employer, like who we are, for example. So you'll definitely want to do that sort of research. And you can also research the companies on Glassdoor. You can follow them on LinkedIn. And if you're going to a large job fair where there will be over 5 or 10 employers, you won't have time to talk to everyone. So twice a year, we have 2 to 3 times a year, we have a really large job fair with 30 to 40 employers. And so in that case, you don't have time to talk to everyone. So you want to prioritize who are the top companies that you want to talk to and what are the positions you're interested in at those companies. And then you'll prepare some questions to ask the companies. And so these are just some sample questions that you might ask. You might ask them about a particular role that you found on their website. You might ask them about their hiring process. So you can take a look at these questions and write them down and have those prepared to ask the employers when you talk to them. And so down here, I just have a little screenshot of an employer website reminding you to pay close attention to the About page and the careers page when you're checking out different employers. Does anyone have any questions so far?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. Okay, so your resume. Have copies of your resume ready to share. So your resume for a job fair should be around 1 to 2 pages in length. And if you're planning to apply for a lot of different types of jobs, you may have a more kind of general resume than you would when you go to apply for a specific job, because you usually tailor your resume a lot when you're applying for a specific job. Whereas when you go to a job fair, you don't really have if there's a lot of different employers there, you can't really tailor your resume 10 different times. It'll be hard for you to keep track of. So you'll use more of a general resume that's kind of similar to your LinkedIn profile when you are going to apply for jobs or when you're going to the job fair. So like, let's say you're targeting a couple different types of roles, like accounting technician / administrative assistant / events coordinator. You would put those in your headline at the top of your resume to let the employers know a couple different titles that you're targeting. Also, the nice thing is because you're getting to talk to real people, you can make your resume look more pleasing to the eye. So you don't have to worry as much about applicant tracking systems because you're going to hand your resume directly to the employer, or you're going to upload it in the chat when you talk to them. And if you have not yet attended any of our resume workshops, I recommend these two here: dynamic resumes and cover letters, and resume tailoring. But I know that all of you here at this workshop attended our boot camp, so you basically got dynamic resumes and cover letters. If you want to attend resume tailoring, that's a chance for you to get feedback on your resume from my fellow career counselor, Jerry, and other people attending the workshop will also provide you with feedback at that workshop. So if you want to see when those will be offered, just click on this link here and it'll take you to our workshops page so you can attend those. If you're working one-on-one with a counselor, you can also get some feedback on your resume from them before you attend the job fair. If you're going to be attending a virtual job fair, you'll want to save your resume in a PDF format, because PDFs, the formatting basically stays the same. So if you have it in a Word document, sometimes the formatting can get messed up when someone opens it up on a new computer. But if it's in a PDF format, it's going to stay the same. So I would recommend that for sharing your resume when you're emailing it to someone or when you're sharing it at a virtual job fair. And then if you're going to an in-person job fair, of course, you're going to want to have copies of your resume that you can actually hand out to the employers at the job fair. Any questions about this part?
Nope.
Okay. Thanks. So as I mentioned, if for all of you, I recommend having a LinkedIn profile. And so if you want to see what to include on your LinkedIn profile, here's a quick checklist. And you'll want to make sure that your resume and LinkedIn profile don't contradict each other. But yeah, once your LinkedIn profile is ready to share, put your LinkedIn address on your resume, put your LinkedIn URL on your resume. If you're actually in a real job fair and you have the LinkedIn app on your smartphone, there's a pretty cool feature where you can share QR codes. So this is a screenshot of the app on the smartphone. And there's this little square icon here. If you click on that, it's going to take you to this screen. And you can either bring up your QR code so that someone can scan it, or you can scan someone else's QR code. This is a really nice tool so that you can just instantly connect with somebody on LinkedIn. And so that you could do this with an employer or with another job seeker who you meet at the job fair. And another cool thing about this is that if you're like my former boss and your last name is Holtzglaw and it's difficult to spell, then you don't have to worry about that. You just share your QR code with people and they easily connect with you on LinkedIn.
Chrissy,
Yeah.
can I ask a question about that?
Mhm.
Is that done with a phone? How is that done exactly?
Yeah, so you would download the LinkedIn app on your phone.
All right.
And then you would click on this little box here in the
Right.
search bar, and then you'll get this screen, but it'll
Gotcha.
have your individual QR code.
Got you. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so these are some common questions that an employer will ask you at a job fair. So like I said, it's often a short conversation, but they'll just ask you a couple initial screening questions like, tell me about yourself, or tell me about your background. Why are you interested in our company? What type of position are you looking for? So these are the simple questions that you want to be able to answer when you talk to an employer. And so you'll want to really answer that first question well. You'll want to prepare your 30 to 60-second elevator pitch, which has these items in there. So you have who you are, what's your title, what's your occupation, what kind of experience and education do you have related to that occupation, what kind of skills or knowledge do you have related to that occupation? What do you enjoy about your occupation or your field? And then what are you looking for? So you'll want to think about what you're looking for, and then all the experience, education, skills, and interests related to that particular position. And so this is a sample elevator pitch for Harry Potter. So if Harry Potter were at a job fair, this is what he might say. So does anyone want to read it, or I'm fine with reading it if you're feeling shy. I can read it. So, hi, my name is Harry Potter, and I'm a wizard with over 7 years of experience in defense against the dark arts, as well as a diploma from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I can levitate, cast spells, resurrect, and I am an award-winning Quidditch player. I enjoy challenging missions, and I am committed to equity for all witches and wizards. I'm looking for work as a security guard supervisor. So hopefully you see all those components in there. His occupation, wizard, his level of experience and his education, some special unique skills, especially resurrection. I would say that's a very unique skill. His special interests or what he enjoys, and then what he's looking for. So I know all of you in here were part of our boot camp. You had a chance to create your own elevator speech. So you'll want to go ahead and refine that elevator speech and practice it, and then get it ready for the job fair, ready to introduce yourself to an employer. And the more you practice it, the more natural it will sound and the easier it'll be. So just some overall tips. You'll want to keep it relevant to the employer and the type of work you are seeking. You'll want to adjust your vocabulary for your audience. So recruiters might not always be super technical because they hire for a lot of different positions. So they might not always know the specific technical language for your job, but there's certain things that are common. Like say you're going for an accounting position, you can talk about like invoicing, accounts payable, accounts receivable, things that people that have a general knowledge of accounting would know. So just think about your audience, what kind of vocabulary they know. Like I said, you'll want to make it feel conversational, but also formal. You'll want to time yourself. Make sure you're not talking for more than 30 to 60 seconds. And then think about your unique qualities that you want to showcase in this. What are unique ways that you can help your next employer? What are unique things that you bring to the table that you can offer? Make it clear, easy to understand, and we were just talking about practicing. Are there any questions or concerns regarding the elevator speech that you want to address? Anything that you find challenging or that that you just want to ask questions about related to this topic?
If you're using this, sorry for the background noise. If you're using this at a job fair, how do you make it so that it could be for a variety of different jobs?
Yeah, good point. I would say you can have a couple different titles that you mentioned. So going back to here, you could have a couple different titles that you mentioned and what you're looking for. You could maybe, if you want you for the introduction, you could be a little more general. Like you could say, I'm an administrative professional. I have experience in accounting and sales support, and talk about some of the different things that you have experience in and some of the skills. But then you would list a couple different titles on what you're looking for down here, because so that they have more of a target.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So you've all had a chance to practice your elevator speech before, so I'm going to skip this part. Okay, what are you going to wear? If you've been working from home or attending Zoom things at home, if you have to pay attention more to what are you wearing? Are you wearing a skirt or pants or something on the bottom? You have to pay more attention to your entire outfit if you're going to an in-person job fair. So these are some overall recommended things to wear. So a collared shirt or nice sweater, could include a blazer, dress pants, skirt, or dress, clean dress shoes. So you'll want to polish your shoes before if they're the kind of shoes that need to be polished. If you wear heels, just make sure they're not too high. Groomed hair. I don't recommend cologne or perfume just because some people are allergic, and so you just never know who's going to be in the room. And I definitely recommend you try on your outfit the day before to see how it looks in the mirror. There might be a stain on your shirt that you forgot about or a wrinkle that you need to iron out. So just try it on before and get it ready. See how it looks. Things to avoid, jeans, cutoffs, stretchy pants, tennis shoes, flip-flops, revealing clothing, super high heels, things like that. If you want more detailed recommendations, there's some at this link here. And then I just thought it would be helpful to see some visuals of what to wear and what not to wear. So you can see that here. Some other examples. And this is business professional versus business casual attire. So business professional is for really formal settings and really formal jobs. Like in banking, people wear a lot of clothing like this. But then in a lot of other jobs, people just wear business casual. So that's just something to look at. If you're going to be in an in-person job fair, like at our particular office, we're still requiring masks. And I know it kind of varies from place to place in the Bay Area. So I know these are really fun masks, but I would recommend something that's a little bit just kind of simple or a small pattern that doesn't clash with your outfit, like this, or just wear like a surgical mask or KN95. That would be fine too. And if you need access to professional attire, please let us know. We do help with that if someone's not able to get access to professional attire. We have some connections to local organizations, and then we've also helped people buy clothes for interviews and job search. So please reach out to us individually if that's something that you need help with. We're happy to connect you. Any other questions about clothing before we move on?
No, but I did want to bring up one thing is even watch your deodorant.
You mean like some of them might be too strong?
Too perfumey, yeah. Depending, because actually I was a CNA at one time and I didn't realize it, but then other people had brought up, you know, that I was wearing perfume, and I wasn't wearing perfume, but it was my deodorant.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. So maybe ask someone for a second opinion about your deodorant, because you want to make sure it's a deodorant that works, right? Because you might be a little nervous, so you want it to be effective, but yeah, not overpowering. Okay, what to do during the job fair. So one thing you might not have thought of is saying the employer's name. Learn their name and then say it several times as you talk to them. This shows that you're interested in them, that you're remembering them, makes them feel like you're paying attention. Make it a dialogue. Recruiters are talking to people all day. So they don't want to just hear you tell your elevator speech, but they actually want you to ask them questions. They want to teach you or tell you things, right? So they don't want to just like listen to people talking the whole time. So make it a dialogue, make it a conversation, have some questions ready to ask. Your posture and your voice are really important. So you'll want to have a confident impression. Even if you don't feel confident, you can still look confident even if you don't feel that way. So stand up straight, shoulders back, smile a lot, and speak clearly when you're talking to people. Your goal is to really build rapport with the recruiter and ask them about the hiring of the process. And go ahead and, ask them what's the next step after your meeting, so what should I do next? Sometimes they'll say, connect with me on LinkedIn or email me your resume, or let's set up a job interview, and they'll make an appointment for a job interview right on the spot. You don't know, but it's good to ask to show your interest. And always get their contact information before you leave their table or before you finish speaking with them. Okay, things you don't want to do. You don't want to be like playing with your hair because you're nervous or distracted. Certainly don't want to be eating or fidgeting with your, you don't want to cross your arms because that might make you look defensive. Like I said, you don't want to just walk up and say, what does your company do? You want to do your research in advance. You never, just like in a job interview setting, you never want to be the first person to bring up salaries, benefits, vacation time. So focus more on the company, their products, their goals. You can always stalk them online later and look them up on Glassdoor and see what kind of salary range they're offering. Your goal right now is to make them want to talk to you. And then once they want to talk to you and learn about you and interview you, then you can ask more questions about what you need. You want to stay positive, so don't say anything negative about previous companies, employers, or jobs you held. Stay positive, don't vent, don't use this as a venting session. We talked about the importance of keeping in mind that there's other job seekers that want to talk to the employer, so you don't want to interrupt them or monopolize their time. You want to spend a couple minutes talking with them, and then kind of, if there's other people waiting, let those people chat with the recruiter as well. And don't expect the employer to tell you what kind of job you should look for. So Jerry and I are your career counselors. Employers can tell you what kind of qualifications they're seeking, but they can't tell you what career decisions you should make for your life. So just think of it as an information gathering activity. And as I said, after the job fair, connect with the employer on LinkedIn, follow them, include a note when you connect with them, say, hey, it was so nice to meet you today. Thank you for your time. I'd love to be connected to you on LinkedIn. So connect with them on LinkedIn or send them an email within 48 hours of the job fair, thanking them for your time, telling them how much you enjoyed meeting them. Email them your resume if you haven't already given it to them. You also can meet other job seekers at these job fairs. So make friends, find other people in the same industry or field. So you can also connect with them on LinkedIn. And afterwards, if you haven't already, if there were some jobs that the employer talked about that you're interested in, go ahead and apply for the positions on their website. And then you can email the recruiter and let them know that you applied for the job. And let us know if you get called for an interview. We always like to hear about success stories from our job fair where connections made at the job fair helped you get an interview and helped you get a job. So some special things you might want to be aware of for an in-person job fair. One is depending on how many people are signed up, there could be a longer line to check in. I don't think that's been so much the case with our coffee breaks lately, but when we have larger job fairs, that can be the case. So If you do arrive early though, you have a chance to talk with the employers when they're fresh, when their minds are fresh. We often are having people do a brief health screening, and then we'll give you a badge or a name tag when you come in. And then this doesn't apply so much to our coffee break, but when we have large job fairs, we might send you to a specific room just to keep room capacity at a recommended level. For large job fairs, they also give you a map of where the employers are. So if there's 30 or 40 employers, you then get a map seeing where all of them are located. I don't know that we've brought back handshakes all the way yet since before the pandemic. So I would wait and see if they offer their hand or an elbow bump or something. But some people might not offer any sort of physical contact. So just keep that in mind. People might want a little more social distancing. And then we're still not having eating or drinking in our main public spaces. And then now I want to talk about virtual job fairs. But before I do, does anyone have any questions about in-person job fairs or any questions about what to do after a job fair or additional tips or stories you want to share?
Chrissy, you got a second?
Mhm.
My only question is, I plan on attending tomorrow's, but I should have one of you guys take a quick look at the resume, which I think is good. I just have to, because the different employers, I'm not quite sure what to put in regards to like what I'm looking for.
Mm. Yeah, go ahead and email your resume to Jerry. I'm sure he'd be happy to take a look. If you email it to him today.
I did it yesterday.
Okay. So I'll yeah, you can just check in with him and see if he had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say like just in that headline at the top, you'll put a couple different jobs that you're targeting. So
maybe just something generic like customer service.
Yeah, or I think you were also interested in, was it like social services or
Advocacy, yes.
advocacy? Yeah, so you could add something like that as well.
Or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tweet that same company.
Okay.
They emailed me back in a nice, polite email, but so far no luck. But I'm
Okay. Well, there's many other companies out there, so.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we'll keep going. Special considerations for virtual job fairs. So sometimes we're having virtual job fairs as well, or other career centers are offering them. So with those things, you want to also consider your clothing and background and lighting and practice on the platform beforehand. So I know you're all pretty familiar with Zoom, so you don't need to practice so much with that, but if it's another platform, you would want to try it out. You'd want to download any software you need, create a profile on the platform, and do things like that in advance. So when it comes to clothing, I recommend something that looks good in a camera. So collared shirts always look good, or a sweater with like a nice collar. When it comes to colors, white is actually not such a good color for virtual interviews or virtual events. So you'll want to wear, excuse me, you'll want to wear jewel tones. All right. Patterns are okay if they're small. Have your hair well groomed again. Check, make sure you don't have spinach in your teeth. And then try your outfit the day before and see how it looks in the camera. Lighting, it's always best if the light is in front of you. So you can see in this photo, the light is behind him. So he looks like he's in a horror movie or something. We can't see him very well. So it's always good if you can have a window in front of you, or if you don't have a window in front of you, have a lamp in front of you with pretty stable and like unvaried lighting. And depending on the platform, if you're on Zoom, you can also adjust your settings. So if you look on Zoom where it says stop video, or near the video icon, there's a little arrow, and you can click on that, and then you can click on video settings. And in the video settings on Zoom, you can adjust for low light. So you can manually adjust that. So if it's not adjusted for low light, this is what I look like. I look pretty dark because I have a lot of light behind me. But with the help of Zoom, it adjusts that so that now you can see me better. So if you're using Zoom, you have the option to do that. And then you also have the option to blur your background or set up a virtual background as well. And then if you do not have a virtual background, you'll want to make sure it's not cluttered. Oh, this is another platform we were using for a while called Remo, but we're not using it as much. But just not all platforms allow you to use a virtual background. So just keep that in mind. You'll want to make sure that your background looks decent in case you're not able to use the virtual background. You'll want to have a quiet place without distractions. Yeah, a blurred background. Someone asked, is a blurred background okay? Yeah, that's definitely fine. The level of the camera should be at your eye level. So especially with laptops, sometimes the laptop is below you, so you're kind of looking down on it. And then that looks bad because then it looks like you're looking down on people. So I recommend that you put a box underneath your laptop or computer so that the camera is at your eye level. Or you could put a pad underneath your chair, on top of your chair, so that you're higher. That's another option. Also, with a lot of platforms, there are certain features that are harder to access on a phone. So it's always better to use a computer if you can. And I recommend the day before checking everything out, making sure your internet's stable, make sure your camera and microphone are working. If you can, try it out at the same time that the event's going to be held. So like if the event's going to be held at 4 o'clock on Friday, then you want to try it out at 4 o'clock on Thursday, because then you'll have a good sense of what your lighting is like at that time during the day. And then you can adjust your lighting as needed. And during job fairs, you should definitely keep your video on, because this is your chance to make an impression on people and to get to know them. So if your video's off, that makes you seem a little more impersonal. It's harder to build rapport with the recruiter. Someone asked, sometimes you end up looking to the left due to where the camera is. If you can, try to move your camera so that it's centered. But if that's not possible, but try to move your camera or move your computer so that the camera is centered if possible. And if you don't feel confident in your setup at home for a virtual job fair, we do have a couple of rooms here at the Career Center where you could book them in advance to attend a virtual job fair or virtual interview here at our office if you're not confident in the setup that you have at your house. you would just call our main office line to make an appointment and reserve that. Any questions or anything I forgot? Any other considerations?
Nothing I can think of.
Okay. So yeah, get comfortable with the platform, have your resume in PDF format, and then practice sharing your resume in chat using the platform. So on Zoom, you can try this right now if you want. You can go to the chat box, and then there's a little icon that looks like a document. It looks like a little paper with the corner folded over. If you click on that little icon, it gives you an option to attach something. And so then you can go ahead and attach a resume. So let's see, I'm just going to attach something random. I'll attach the personal inventory that I gave you all in the boot camp. And now you can see that that has been added to the chat. So that's one way to share your resume virtually. And I would recommend that you practice your elevator speech with a friend or with your career advisor before the job fair.
Chrissy,
Yes.
I didn't see it in the chat. Did you put it in the chat?
Yeah, you should be able to see it now.
Okay.
It should say personal inventory. Do other people see it?
Yes, I have it.
Okay, so do you see in chat that there, where the smiley face is, to the left of the smiley face, there's a little document icon? Does everyone see that?
Does that look like an arrow?
It looks kind of like a paper with a corner folded over. I guess it could look like an arrow. Try clicking on it.
Okay.
If when you click on it, it should pull up your drive so that you could search for your documents and you could then attach your resume in the chat.
Okay, I'm not seeing it, but
Maybe I can help you with it tomorrow if you
okay.
Want. Yeah.
Thanks. So all I see is a little smiley face and an arrow.
And the arrow doesn't take you to your documents?
No, I don't think so. No, it lets me send that. No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's usually okay. Yeah, I can show you tomorrow. Okay.
Good.
So I don't need to take attendance for this because I know you all and I have your info. So that's basically everything that I wanted to share with you for today. So
Okay.
your next steps would be pre-register for the job fair if you haven't already done that, and take a look at the employer list and research the employers, and then get your resume and LinkedIn profile ready. If you don't have time to get your LinkedIn profile ready, at least get your resume ready, and then get your professional outfit ready. So that's everything. I'll go ahead and stop the recording